A few weeks back, something interesting happened. I asked ChatGPT to create a simple piece of code for me, and I do this quite often. And it responded, but the answer that it gave back was incorrect. It was a simple request. I just asked it to create a heat map on Python, but the code ran with an error. So I asked ChatGPT to fix it, and it created another error. Eventually, I fixed it for myself. Now, I am almost certain that a few months ago, ChatGPT would have answered this question effortlessly without any errors. And now it just can't. I've been realizing lately that this seems to occur quite often. Here is someone else complaining on Reddit about ChatGPT's ability to code. What happened to GPT's ability to code? I remember it being pretty good a year ago. Now it's horrendous. Countless errors, inability to look at the whole code snippet, and will fixate on one part. Happily breaks 99% of a class to introduce a new feature and then does not work, will forget requirements, etc., etc. And funny enough, another user responded to this post and actually noticed something interesting. I feel like it loses the ability to continue a conversation after some point. For my case, GPT will generate workable code in the first try, but then I ask to update it. It either forgets a previously written code or just creates a new code with updated fix from scratch. Sam Altman did say that GPT 4.0 is the dumbest version, which he did.
GPT-4 is the dumbest model any of you will ever have to use again by a lot.
But both of these users are right. I've noticed the same thing. The longer the thread is in ChatGPT, the more errors it creates. Here's my example. This was a relatively simple machine learning model that I asked it to create just so I could get a template for a project. And after a few back and forths, errors start to pop up. And this seems to happen the more longer the threads are, the more errors get created, and the more the responses vary. Here's another user bringing this up a month back. What the happened to GPT-4's coding ability? It's terrible now compared to how it was a few months ago. I'm a programmer with about 20 years of experience, and I use it to generate boilerplates or quick helpers. 3 out of 5 times I can point out issues before it's even done writing. Weirdly, a lot of people are saying that Claude is better at coding and to just use that. Even someone in my YouTube comments also mentioned that they are a programmer and they use Claude. So that might be worth giving it a try. Lots of other users are saying to just use ChatGPT Classic, ChatGPT 3.5, or to turn off web browsing and DALL-E, which is the image generation feature of ChatGPT, because these additions seem to make the model worse, which actually does solidify the point that ChatGPT is getting worse the more advanced models we get. And ChatGPT is not only getting worse for coding-related prompts, also for other stuff. This user on Reddit recently brought up the point that ChatGPT is not great at summarizing PDFs. I'm done. I've been nerfed beyond belief. Literally can't even read me a PDF. It just starts making stuff up after page 1, multiple attempts, it's over, cancelled, shrug emoji. And then someone responded. I literally wrote this post last night. I asked it to summarize a PDF of a transcript, and it literally responded with an image of a forest. And it's true. I've been noticing that as well. Well, not it responding with images of a forest, but I have been noticing the decrease in quality. Now, I couldn't find an example in the past, and I actually used ChatGPT a lot. I just couldn't find the thread that I was thinking about. But for the purpose of this video, I created one. So here I uploaded one of my PDF files. It's a project brief. I'm a data analyst. I create content and courses online. This brief just details the various projects that you can complete when you do a course. So simple enough. And all I did was I asked ChatGPT to summarize this PDF. And this is what it outputs, which at first glance, it looks okay. It goes through each project and summarizes exactly what the PDF says. But upon closer inspection, there is an issue. If I look at the first project, which is Park City Peaks Hotel, ChatGPT says that this project is an analysis on bookings and cancellations, repeated guest statistics, food preferences, etc., which is correct. That is what the document does say. But then it says, additionally, they seek an analysis of their reviews to determine the general sentiment and whether customers would recommend their services. That doesn't happen anywhere in this project. Nowhere in this project are reviews even mentioned. I think the data set for this project doesn't even have reviews. And this is a very simple PDF document. It's a typed document, it's formatted well. Somehow it was able to make something up known as a hallucination that didn't happen. And I think the issue is that if you didn't check this quite carefully, you would just miss it. I previously used ChatGPT a lot to summarize PDFs. I use it a lot when I create courses and content, and it used to do a good job with little to no hallucinations. And now it feels like it's happening more than it used to. What about good old text prompts? Surely ChatGPT isn't getting worse at that. And looking at the old-fashioned text prompts, it is often a hit or miss. Like in 2023, I asked ChatGPT, create a blog post on why you should start a career in data analytics. And the response that it gave me at the time was decent. It broke it up into sections, which is great. And in May 2024, when I asked it the same question again to create a blog post on why you should start a career in data analytics, it spoke about many different factors that the original response didn't have. So a better reply, but I think it's by a small margin, nothing too drastic, which is fine. But there are some instances where I feel like the newer version just performs way worse. So for instance, I asked ChatGPT to create a slide about machine learning and to speak about specific points. Just tell me what to say around these specific points that I want to speak about. And the old version looked exactly at my initial prompt and broke my requirements into sections, which is great. Yesterday, I asked it the same question, and this is what I got, which wasn't as detailed as previously, and also how it broke up the response into sections isn't as good as the previous version. This seemed like a very simple response. And something like this happens often enough to notice, but not frequently enough to complain about it, if that makes sense. So what the is happening? Why is ChatGPT getting worse? Or why are users reporting that it is getting worse? And the answer is not because they are making it less intelligent on purpose. In fact, they probably have an insanely good GPT model that is accurate, that provides really great responses. It's probably developed and it's out there. But we as users are probably getting an average model of ChatGPT because running that full model is insanely expensive. And this is a common problem in data science and data analytics. Let me explain. Running a full model is expensive. You need to account for the data storage. You need to account for the cost of query. You need to account for the amount of energy or resources the model uses to actually run. And a more complex model, a more accurate model, will actually use a lot more resources and energy, meaning it would actually cost a lot more. And to be honest, most people using ChatGPT probably ask it simple questions, like rewrite this email for me, or is this sentence grammatically correct? And I think what happened is that OpenAI just realized most people don't need a juiced out version of ChatGPT. In fact, it might be possible that 95% of the queries are just simple queries. So to cut costs, they give everyone this average model that would satisfy 95% of the queries. And then when you ask it a complex question, i.e. that remaining 5%, it doesn't perform well because it's just limited. I guess we'll see how GPT-4o does. I didn't include it in my analysis in this video because it is still too new to determine how well it does. I think I need to use the model for a few months before I actually decide on my opinion on it. But it does look like ChatGPT 3.5 or the classic sometimes performs better than ChatGPT 4, which is really interesting. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you also agree or don't. This has just been what I've been experiencing. I'll see you on the next one. Please like, comment, and subscribe.